Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk About Fostering podcast. In today's episode, we're joined by Jan Widowen, who after 20 years of working with fostering people is retiring. For 2 decades, Jan has been a fostering panel administrator, working with people on their journeys to becoming foster parents. Jan is going to be telling us about her time with fostering people, sharing information on the panel process and sharing some of her own experiences from the last 20 years. For those who don't know or might be learning about the fostering panel for the first time, what exactly is it?
The fostering panel is the stage between an assessment, which will probably take between 4 and 8 months. Once that's completed, it goes to our panel, which is an independent panel and is run by a chair, a panel advisor, and up to 7 panel members, including the chair. Once they've gone through that panel, they get a recommendation, and that is then sent to our agency decision maker.
How would you describe how that session is for a foster parent when they're sat at panel? What's going on?
It doesn't matter how much you say to them, the work has been done. This is just a final thing. It's not an interview.
So nothing could change at that point?
No. It's just purely and simply, the panel members want to see how you actually come across.
Okay.
And that's it, really.
So the people who sit on the panel might have been care experienced, they might have been teachers. So is it all people who've been involved in children's services in some way? Is that always the case?
Yeah, generally.
Why is that?
Because they have a better knowledge of I suppose, the children, the children in care and the processes, I suppose. We've got one of our panel members has been a foster carer for almost 30 years.
Brilliant. So we've got some hardcore panel members sitting there.
Somebody else who's been in care themselves. In fact, we've got a couple of them that have been in care themselves. Generally, they go on to do something in the care field as well.
That's really lovely, isn't it? And we hear quite often when we speak to care experienced people here, they will say or talk about how they wish there were more care experienced voices for them when it was their time. So they obviously, I suppose, can bring that lived experience, which other panel members might not be able to do. If a foster parent was to be unsuccessful, do they know ahead of panel or do they get kind of given that verdict in panel either way?
Generally speaking, if we know that it's likely to be a negative recommendation, it wouldn't get to panel. We'd pull it before it actually came to panel.
Is that quite common that it's that way?
No.
Most people make it through?
Yeah, if it gets... Whether it's the same in other agencies or not, I don't know, but certainly with ours. If they're actually at panel, the chances of being not recommended are very, very slim. Probably over the last 10 years, we've probably had about 4 or 5.
Really?
It's difficult because the reason for not recommending is never the same twice, but we have had carers that some of the answers that they gave didn't fit with the values of fostering.
Okay.
So they were turned down. They then went back, had a few more sessions with the social worker, did a bit more work, and it was brought back to panel. And then they came through as foster carers.
Okay.
So it's not the end of the line necessarily.
But that kind of answers the question of why it's so important, because actually if there are some people who, for lots of reasons, aren't quite right to foster, through the assessment process and ultimately panel, we're going to be saying yes to the people who absolutely should be fostering and no to those who shouldn't.
I mean, I suppose looking at the assessment process, probably certainly a third of those that come into assessment probably never make it. They've stopped during the assessment.
What are some of the main reasons that people might stop the process for?
Something shows up on their checks, I suppose. DBS.
Lots of things.
Yeah, it could be anything. Or it could just be that something happens within the family that makes them decide that actually now isn't the right time. I mean, out of those people, sometimes we'll get people come back a year, 2 years down the line that reapply.
I feel it might feel like a failure to people that they've not made it through, but it needs to be the right time for people. When they foster, if things aren't quite right at home or you've got other stuff going on, get that sorted first. Would that be your advice?
Yeah.
People are assessed at the very beginning of becoming a foster parent, but then they're reassessed if life circumstances change.
Yeah.
Is that a rule of thumb? Is it always that way?
It depends really how important it is. If it's just a change of address or something like that, a lot of the things are done from a review because foster carers are reviewed every year. And then if there's any changes, they will sort of come to panel.
And what about if someone transfers from one agency to another? Is it assessment all over again?
Yep.
Every time?
Yep.
Good to know. These, I think there are a lot of things that when you work in fostering are really straightforward, but actually to everyone who doesn't know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine the world of fostering has changed greatly in 20 years.
More admin-based than it used to be.
Yeah. Your workload's increased.
Yes, yeah. It's I suppose there's so many more sort of rules and regulations and things for the foster parents to sort of adhere to. The same with the sort of checks and how far back people, you go with all of that.
Tell me about that. If people don't know that, what do you mean? Give me a little bit more context around that.
One time we used to do right from somebody being 18.
Their whole adult life.
Any local authority checks, DBS and sort of anything like that. Now I think it's usually around 10 years. So, and then if they've been in the forces, then you have to apply to the forces for their for records and things. So, and if they've been approved anywhere else, the social worker has to go out and read the files.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of background work.
Okay.
So when these people sort of send in an application and say, oh yeah, we want to be, when they see adverts on TV sort of at Christmas and things,
I love a go at that.
We'll have some children for Christmas. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, we're about to get into it over here. Yeah.
So I suppose the enquiries and things go up at those strategic times, and I think people think that by the end of the week or something there might well be, oh, that's okay, we can sort you out with a child. It doesn't happen like that.
No. But why is it so important that the checks are so... I mean, it is long-winded, but with good reason. Why do we need to be so thorough when we're recruiting new foster parents?
The basic is that we need to know fully what their background is to make sure they're stable, they can handle things. If they've had problems in the past in their life, some of these things can be triggered by a child in placement that comes up with the same issues. We have quite a lot of foster carers that come through that have been abused themselves, that think that because of that they would make foster parents. But as soon as you have a child in place that's gone through the same, some people can handle it, some people it triggers them.
The beautiful thing about fostering is that everyone has got something to offer, and your own life experiences, whatever as lovely or terrible as they might have been, probably can be something that a young person in care could relate to. But all experiences can be beneficial in some way. But also I think I've heard a lot of foster parents say, something came up in assessment, or that they didn't even realise was a trigger for them, or things get discovered, I suppose, through the process. So even if you haven't had a traumatic upbringing, actually something that those children have been through could still trigger you, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's important to look into... all the ins and outs of it. Yeah. Paint me a picture of what actually goes on in or at panel. What sort of conversations are you having? Who does most of the talking? Just sort of talk us through a little bit.
Panel chair will introduce himself and then introduce ask the panel members to introduce themselves, and anybody such as myself and the panel advisor, and anybody observing. At that point, anyone who is actually not physically a panel member, we shut our cameras down so that it doesn't distract from everybody else that's on the Teams link.
Okay, yeah.
And it also causes less interference as well if there's not so many people on.
I can
on
see
camera.
that. Yeah,
So,
daunting anyway.
Yeah. So if you've got 10, 12 people all on a big square and you're sort of looking all across, it's quite nerve-wracking. But if you've only got sort of 7 people plus, themselves,
Marginally better.
It's a little bit easier. Yeah. The panel chair will sort of have a chat with them as to sort of how important it is for, people to come forward as foster parents. And then they'll go into any sort of questions that they've got from the paperwork.
So that's from panel to foster parent.
Yeah. And generally speaking, it's a sort of who, where, how sort of question. If there's something in the actual paperwork that they've read as to sort of something about any challenging behaviour that's come up with their own children in the past, or children that they've looked after in the past, they will often ask what they did to actually sort of solve any problems or help the child, that kind of thing. So it's just to get a more rounded picture of the actual applicants sitting there. I think we've only ever done one panel that somebody didn't turn up, and that was because they were stuck in traffic on the motorway.
Oh, you're joking.
The motorway was closed when it was in the office. Yeah. So we don't have that problem now because they're not on the motorway anymore.
Yeah.
So
maybe a few questions then. So there might be a few questions. Is it just to see how they react in the moment, or so that panel gets a visual of the foster parent that they've not had before?
The best applicants are those that actually come across like they've read about.
Okay.
And they like to see that. It doesn't always happen.
No.
Sometimes those, if they hadn't met them, they would have been a little bit more uncertain as to but meeting them and asking them questions and getting their feedback can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that it is. And I think, people who want to foster want to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's a big moment, and they've been through all those months of work to get there, and then there are all these strangers in front of them, and they think, oh my God, what am I doing again? Yeah. It's big. How do people generally react when they get the green light, you've passed what goes on?
Usually elated.
Are they?
Yeah. At the moment, we sign off on the screen, and then the panel chair will give them a call and let them know what the recommendation's been.
Oh, so they don't get it live on screen?
No, they have had people so absolutely sort of jumping up and down for joy.
I bet, yeah.
Prior to panel, when I give them a ring, just to sort of have a chat with them as to let them know what's going to go off in panel. And we will say to them that actually all the hard work's done. It's not an interview. It's not the end of an interview. It's purely to meet you. It's
the decision made. Yeah. It's the yes or the no, but nothing. Yeah. I think that's a really interesting part of it.
If you want to have a coffee at the side of you and whatever, that's fine. You're in your own. I mean, we've had foster parents when they're sort of sat there on the screen, waiting, chattering away, and you've got a cat walking across. Sorry.
But that's good. Your normal life can continue at home, and that's also not going to change what goes on in the decision.
Than it used to be in the office.
But that's quite nice for people, isn't it? Yeah. I think people listen. As soon as teams took over, there are just cats and dogs everywhere. That's how it's gone. That's
barking in the background, or jets flying over somewhere in Lincolnshire.
All sorts. Good. But I think that shows to people. I think fostering is just one of the most human things, and so whatever of your own life is going on, that's going to be going on when you're fostering, right? So that's okay. We can make peace with that. Yeah. So. We have some lovely reactions from people. I suppose really, it's a hugely life-changing moment for a lot of people.
It can be, yes. Yeah.
How does it make you feel knowing that in your own way, in your own role, you have an impact on ultimately improving outcomes for children and young people?
I'd say I'm probably quite proud of my role and quite proud of what I've done over the years.
Yeah, you should be. It's so human and it's so real, and it actually affects people every single day, regardless of the role that you have within fostering. So you've, 20 years of making a difference is phenomenal. Do you recommend to others that they get involved in working in the fostering space? And if so,
yes, I would do. Yes.
Why?
I think it gives you an open view of what actually goes off in life with families.
There are big learnings, aren't there? I think for me that was one of the most interesting things that I've learned, is actually fostering impacts so many other parts of society. Crime, lifestyle, fertility rates, homelessness, it goes off in every other space of the social care sphere, I suppose. It's it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that until they get in.
Halfway down the line.
Okay. Yes. What advice would you give to someone thinking about fostering but perhaps anxious about assessment and panel?
The only thing I can say is that you've got to open up your life to somebody coming in to assess you, no holds barred. And once you get through that situation, you've just got to be open and honest, for the future.
Do you think, I feel like I know what the answer is going to be, but it is daunting, but we shouldn't let people be put off by that?
If they're well and truly daunted, it's probably not the right time.
Okay.
I would say they need to have probably more thought about it. And, another year down the line, they might think, yes, we can do that.
That's good advice, actually. Feel what you're feeling and listen to that and come back when the time is right for you. And we see that, like, you see people leave and come back. We see people who foster and they need to take a break and then they come back, and it applies at every part of the process, I suppose. We are going to get into it, but that's with really good reason. It has to be this strict to ensure the best outcomes for everybody involved. You don't want to be making... It's not a mistake you want to be making. No. Be strong. Get through it. It's going to be okay. We speak to lots of different people on the podcast, responsible individuals, foster parents. We've got all sorts of people from across the community, which is brilliant. But we like to end all of our episodes by asking people about a favourite memory from their time with their agency or with Polaris. So have you got a favourite moment, memory, experience from the last 20 years at fostering people?
No, I wouldn't say I have got a favourite time. I've just had lots and lots of great times.
I love that. But you wouldn't have stuck around for 20 years if you weren't having a nice time. 20 years well spent?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I've made some good friends.
Now, before you go, someone from Fostering People would like to pop in and say hello and goodbye to you.
Oh, no.
So can we get someone... popping in.
Oh gosh!
Hello. Everyone, it's John Platt. Fostering People's MD. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Going back to what you just asked, that was probably one of my favourite times, was when John joined the team.
Oh,
that's so good, isn't it? That's John, just like we did for Jan.
Yes.
John and Jan, the team over there. We like to close all of our episodes of Let's Talk About Fostering by talking about a favourite memory or moment. So for you, firstly, you and Jan have been working together for all of these 20 years, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely.
How amazing.
Amazing. Absolutely fabulous.
Well, it's so few people can say that anywhere, I'm sure. But what has been your favourite part of working with Jan for the last 20 years?
Well, that's a good question because I have so many good memories around it.
She hates it. Look. Lay it on.
So I can think about, there is Jan, like me, the beginning of the day, emptying the dishwasher. That's what she's doing alongside me at the very beginning of the day. That's what she's doing. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. There we are together at the very first Ofsted Outstanding, which takes place. And that moment of achieving Ofsted Outstanding.
Amazing.
And Jan is absolutely right. Jan plays a very central part to that because those panel people, those panel members being happy and liking what takes place in panel cannot happen without Jan's job. So that's absolutely key. But perhaps my best memory relates to the time when Jan decides that she needs to tell me about what should happen in relation to the agency moving officers, where it should move to and what should take place. And it's fair to say that she, alongside some other key people in the agency, didn't hold back. And I, as one, would have been very, very foolish not to listen to Jan's advice.
I feel that.
So I did. So the agency, from that point of view, made an appropriate move rather than one of those ridiculously silly moves that I was thinking about personally to do. Do you remember
pulled that place down, you know.
I know.
So the moral of the story is Jan knows best.
Jan knows best. Your culture carrier of fostering people.
You're going to cry?
Best.
Or are you just mortified?
Mortified.
Thank you both so much for your time with us today on the Let's Talk About Fostering podcast. Jan, thank you to you for 20 incredible years of service at Fostering People. It's just unbelievable.
We don't accept resignation.
John's not having it. That's what I'm taking away. We wish you all the best in your retirement. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode. We hope that you learned something new about the panel process. I'm absolutely confident that they did. If you would like to find out more about fostering or getting started on your very own fostering journey, check out the links in our description and we'll see you next time.